And welcome in, everybody, to the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports. It's Brian here inside the ARM Media Solutions studios on this Saturday night, March the 21st, 2026. Hope you are well. Hope you're happy. Happy first day of spring and all that crap, to quote George Costanza. As we are underway in the NCAA tournament, nothing too crazy happening here today. Illinois victorious. We'll get to that here in just a little bit as they are in the Sweet 16 now, starting on Thursday in Houston. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. We'll also talk about more of the tournament and all of the events happening, so on and so forth. So glad to be back with you here on our show. Big thanks to our parent company, ARM Media Solutions, for their continued support of the show. Big thanks to our sponsors, I Know a Guy Remodeling, as well as Forever Finds Thrift as well. And we are just so happy to have our great sponsors being a part of this and helping us out. We greatly appreciate them. And yeah, if you want to follow us, you can do so on X or Twitter. You can check us out there at Last Row Podcast. If you want to check us out on TikTok or X, you can do so there as well at last.row.podcast. You can also follow us on our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. Make sure you do so there. All right, let's get into it. All right, here we go. Sorry, I'm just having a quick chat with one of our techs. All right, so... Okay. Here we go. Let's go ahead and let's just figure this all out. All right, welcome in, everybody. Illinois victorious. I got to tell you, I was watching this game. I watched it bell to bell. And the injury to the ankle of Lewis for VCU was one of the most gruesome injuries I think I have seen in terms of a basketball injury. That was really, really gross. That was really, really bad. I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for VCU, but Illinois doing a great job of taking care of business, of handling things left and right, being able to beat VCU, a very good VCU team, and quite honestly, making it look, not anything too bad. I'm gonna tell you guys right here now. I do apologize for the video latency issues. It's a TikTok only issue. If it's truly bothering you and you want to switch over to YouTube Live, there is no latency issues over there. So just as an FYI to everybody that is joining up. Murph, good to see you. Yeah, High Point's hanging around. Nebraska, they're looking good right now. So we're switching our viewing pleasures, if you will, now that Illinois has won. We're going to check out Nebraska and Vandy. And I'm not going to lie, I want Vanderbilt to win. Just because I like the underdog story of Vandy more than I do Nebraska, just because I'm not a Fred Hoiberg guy, excuse me. Fred Hoiberg just did a number in Chicago, and that bothers me. He set the Bulls back a number of years, as far as I'm concerned. And so it is without question that um, I am looking forward to Vanderbilt hopefully getting a win here tonight against a very good Nebraska team. Not to discredit anything that Nebraska has done, but Nebraska has absolutely been fantastic. They've done everything right. The only real upset here today, to be completely honest with you, has been Texas over Gonzaga, the 11 over the 3. And I got to be frank with you, it's not much of an upset to me. Texas, despite their record, they play in a really good conference. They can get on a good run here. And I think that Gonzaga, if every single year, to me at least, Gonzaga is a little overrated every single year, and I don't know why. And I don't know what the story is with that, what the fascination is with it. And I find that Gonzaga every single year just ends up disappointing. Very similarly to Purdue. And Mark Few is a very good coach, but the problem is they just don't get the job done. And it's very rare that they do. And I call me a hater. That's fine. I don't care. But I'm not interested. I'm just not. So currently, right now, Nebraska up 45-38 on Vanderbilt. You've got Arkansas High Point hanging around with Arkansas, 40-35. That game's still going on. Vanderbilt with a huge 3 to cut it to 4. Big shot by Nickel. Games earlier on today. You had Houston all over A&M, Texas A&M, 88-57. Duke struggled in the first half. Duke struggled mightily in the first half. And that was not really a surprise. Look, Jamie Dixon is a really good basketball coach. And I've always liked him. And I felt like they got jobbed a little bit by the officiating. Some of the officiating I felt was just not good in that game overall for both teams. The tee that Dixon got, I think, was justified, but I think he had every right to be upset about the no goaltending call. That should have been a goaltend on Duke. Fred Hoiberg right now is screaming at the officials. Wow, how did he not get teed up? Holy mackerel. Hoiberg is livid right now with the officiating crew. They got to tee him up. Wow. Anyway, High Point is down 1. Yep, I'm switching right now over to the one thing I miss here. I'll just say this much: the one thing I miss about not having Xfinity or Comcast, whatever you want to call it, I miss having access to all of the games because I have to now rely on, because I stream, I have to rely on all of these other options like HBO Max, and I don't miss the $250 bill. Murphy, you're right. I don't miss that at all. But I do miss having the opportunity to have like the multi-view and things like that. Now, HBO Max has the multi-view, which I'm grateful for. Tell me in the chat what you guys use. If it's YouTube Live, if it's or YouTube TV, excuse me, if it's Comcast, if it's Mediacom, whatever it might be, your local cable provider, whatever. Let me know, because I'm always looking to find a different option. DirecTV, okay. Is that the streaming part of it, Monty, or is that the actual dish and everything? Because I know they have the DirecTV stream. And so forth. So I understand that part of it. Okay, so you've got the dish. Okay, all right. I had DirecTV for a very long time, and then they raised their prices, and I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm done with that. So anyway, but Duke over TCU, Michigan State. Look, I'm going to tell you right here and now, they were very impressive against Louisville. I thought they were as impressive of a game tonight besides Illinois. Illinois' dominating victory against VCU. I was really impressed by Michigan State. Tom Izzo just once again doing a phenomenal job, and he got super emotional in the press conference, and one of the reporters asked him about it was a loss that he had back in his third year at Michigan State, and it was against UIC, University of Illinois Chicago, and Izzo could recall everything in that game like that. It was incredible, and I really liked his answer when it came to talking about his coaching style anymore versus what he has, what he's encountered, and how mid-majors have been, really important. And Izzo said mid-majors are absolutely great for the game. He schedules them. Tom Izzo schedules them more to me than any big coach does, because he knows that, and he said it in the press conference here tonight, he knows it helps them come March. And he's very true. It's very true. And I think that's why you see some of these bigger schools, and I'm not a Purdue hater, okay? I know everybody thinks I am, but I'm not. It gives them a chance to, play these smaller schools and understand what they need to do better. And that's what Izzo even said earlier tonight at the press conference was, look, this shows us what we have to do and what we have to work on. And I'd rather have a game like that in November versus a game like that in March. And he's right. And he's spot on with it. The other thing, too, is Charles Barkley said something earlier tonight exactly right, Murph. They're going to give them their best shot. Yeah, absolutely. And Izzo coming from, what most people don't remember is Izzo came from a D2 school to Michigan State. And he said, look, I loved coming to Michigan State. I loved going to Michigan. I loved going to the big schools because it was an opportunity for us to see what we needed to improve on as a D2 school. Yeah, we might have gotten our brains beat in, but you know what? We at least learned. And now as that coach, and he said he learned that from John Chaney at Temple. Schedule anybody, anytime, anywhere, any venue. And he referenced that tonight. And Charles Barkley said something that was very poignant, I thought, on the studio show, and that is Tom Izzo is one of the only coaches remaining in college basketball that if you are a parent of a player and you see the coach yelling at your kid, if it's anybody else other than Tom Izzo, most people are throwing a fit. But because it's Tom Izzo, it's okay. Same with John Calipari. I think Izzo, I think Calipari are, and we've talked about this on the show before, they're two of the last remaining old school coaches that don't have an issue yelling at their players, don't have an issue getting in their face. Pitino the same way. High Point has the lead right now. High Point has the lead. Arkansas driving to the rim. They get fouled. 3 seconds to go in the first half. But again, to me, it's one of the best parts of what the team does and how the team operates. And I think that's what's missing in college basketball is the coaches that are actually allowed to coach versus the coaches that, can get into a player's face and the parents throw a fit or boosters throw a fit. It's different in football because if your coach has a reputation of being a yeller and somebody somebody that is younger, or if a coach is known as a yeller and gets in the face of a player, or in the case of football, we've seen, and I'm just using it because it's top of mind to me, Brian Kelly. We've seen him grab a guy by the face mask and say, "What the F are you doing?" So on and so forth. In basketball, you don't see a coach really grab the player necessarily, but you can see them yell. And I've seen it this year already at the tournament where Izzo is screaming at one of his big men, and they scream right back. And that's okay because it's Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo wants that. He wants that. And Murph, we're going to get to Hubert Davis here in a little bit because that's a big thing here. That's a big thing. I saw earlier today there was a report. You know, we're just going to go to it right now. The hell with it. There was a big report earlier today that came out that said that Davis and the AD at UNC are going to talk this week. And there are a lot of boosters that are not happy about the fact that it's been 2 one-and-dones in the tournament. And look, I'll be honest with you. It absolutely is the facts. Your UNC, and I understand they said they're going to treat Hubert Davis as the legend at North Carolina as he is. I'm sorry. He's not a coaching legend. He's not a coaching legend. They've had back-to-back exits in the NCAA tournament. That's not good for UNC. You're not going to recruit the best talent in the nation having back-to-back first-round exits. It's just not going to work. So, to me, I feel that North Carolina needs to go outside the box. And we've talked about this before, and that seems like it's a relatively, it's looking like it's maybe 60-40 that they're going to go outside the box. And I certainly hope so, because you're UNC. And I know, Monty, I know they like to hire their own guys, but I'm telling you right here and now, I think the boosters are tired of that. I think the new boosters, the younger boosters, are tired of the old system of hiring UNC guys. Guess what? It's not working. It's not working. I think Jay Wright would be a slam dunk hire if he wants to coach. If he wants to coach, he brings instant credibility to North Carolina. If he wants to coach. I don't know if he does. But I'll say this much. He'd be a hell of a fit at UNC. He'd bring that program back to relevancy. I'll say that. In terms of, and I think Martinelli will be. Yeah, absolutely. I also think the kid from Iowa State is going to be big. I've said that before. I also think, call me crazy here, Billy Donovan, I think, might be an option. I think even Fred Hoiberg might be an option. If he were to get enticed to leave Nebraska. I know he doesn't, I know that's his alma mater and that's what he wants and so on and so forth. But again, I look, if the money's right, his kid's no longer going to be there. His kid's graduating, I believe. His kid doesn't have an NBA future. So why not, add him to your coaching staff and, go there. Shaka could go there. Absolutely. But Shaka struggled. There was a really nice shine on Shaka Smart when he was at VCU, and then he got the bigger jobs and so on and so forth. And really, we haven't seen or heard much of that or from Shaka in terms of major coaching wins and major development, I guess. But I like Shaka Smart. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a real good coach. You could have Brad Underwood. If the price is right, UNC would buy him out. UNC would do it, I think. But you have to look at different guys and different opportunities for coaches. And look, you've got Calipari, you've got Izzo, the old veterans. You got Matt Painter, who I think is an old veteran at this point after being there 21 years. Realistically, otherwise you've got a lot of young guys. You got Rick Barnes. But, I mean, he's done, right? No, Tennessee moves on, excuse me. So you got Rick Barnes. He's still around. But he's not a real get-in-your-face type of coach, to me at least. I'm telling you, though, I'm really impressed by what I'm seeing so far from Michigan State. Illinois had a very, very, very good game tonight. Illinois shot the ball very well. I thought losing Lewis for VCU hurt them early. I think it was 46 seconds into the game. And the ankle injury that he had was just gruesome. Just gruesome. Couldn't put any weight on it. Even back when he was in the locker room, he couldn't put any weight on it. Did not come back in the game, obviously. I think that overall, though, it was a big win for Illinois. Cinema, welcome in. It was a big win for Illinois. It was a nice win for the Illini. Now they get to the Sweet 16. And I think that buys Brad Underwood a little time. Now, if they can get by in Sweet 16, if they somehow get to the Elite 8, now you're talking, okay, you know what? He's turning his reputation around. I will say this much. I really like Tom Izzo right now. And I tell people, and you guys have heard me say it in here, do not bet against Michigan State. Michigan State in the Sweet 16 should not shock anybody. Michigan State in the Sweet 16 should not be a shocker to anybody. The Houston-Illinois matchup is really, really intriguing to me. You've got really intense head coaches in Calvin Sampson and Brad Underwood. You've got kind of old-school mentality there. I think it's going to be a good game. Illinois, like I said before, Illinois on paper has the talent to compete for a national title. On paper, they're as good as anybody in the NCAA brackets. What is that, Cinema Toast Crunch? What's the big upset right now besides Texas over Gonzaga earlier tonight? Yeah, Arkansas versus High Point. Look, John Calipari on Thursday night said it. He said, "Look, I've got 3 games of tape I gotta go through," and he goes, "I told our guys, High Point is not a pushover." And he said that in the press conference. And he let it be known to everybody that people need to put the respect people need to put respect on the name of High Point. And he's right. Right now they are hanging with Arkansas. And if somehow they pull off this upset, ooh boy. Not that it's going to impact Calipari at all. But then you look at what High Point could do. I mean, that's interesting. And the fact that they're hanging around here just speaks to the coaching. And Calipari knows talent. Calipari knows what these guys are due. And what these guys do. John Calipari is not a flash-in-the-pan coach. We know that. He's won everywhere he's been, except the NBA. The fact is, though, is that you've got Arkansas, who could be a problem for some, but I mean, right now, truth be told, you've got High Point in a really good game. High Point is playing really, really well. That game tomorrow is going to be fantastic between St. John's and Kansas. That game is going to be knockdown, drag-out, coaching 101. And I'm all for it. I am absolutely all for it. The UConn-UCLA game, I think, is going to be fascinating. Mick Cronin versus Dan Hurley. 2 hothead coaches. I would love for Florida to beat Iowa, which I don't think is going to be an issue. Vandy and Nebraska is interesting right now. Nebraska's up by 1 in the second, and Vandy is hanging around. Vandy's hanging around, and I think Nebraska, I mean, theoretically Nebraska should win this game, but I don't trust Fred Hoiberg at all. I just don't. I know he's a great college coach. I get that. He's phenomenal as a college coach. But I'm just telling you, I don't trust him. I don't trust him one bit. Sean May, yeah, he's a guy. He's a guy at UNC. He could be, but again, that's if they get rid of Hubert Davis. I don't know if they're going to. I would like to think that North Carolina has high enough standards to understand that they are going to have people lining up for that job. And to bring that program back to relevancy. I mean, let's be honest here. That program is not really relevant at this point in time. Yeah, they get to the tournament, but that's it. They don't do anything otherwise, as far as I'm concerned. Now, looking at the scoreboard for tomorrow and previewing tomorrow, I am really interested in that Rick Pitino game against Bill Self. I think that's coaching 101. I think it's absolutely incredible. I think it's going to be an old school game, and I'm really looking forward to that. You start out tomorrow with the early games. Miami against Purdue. I wouldn't be shocked if Miami beat them. I would not be shocked if Miami beat them. So you got that. You've also got Iowa State against Kentucky. I look for Kentucky to lose that game. I think Kentucky got very lucky on the other night. Iowa State's favored. I like Iowa State. St. John's is actually favored in the St. John's and Kansas matchup. That's fascinating to me. I think that's really, really interesting. Is anybody else's TikTok stream lagging or like freezing for like 5-10 seconds? I don't know if it is or not for anybody. Tennessee against Virginia. Okay, Murph, you're saying no. Okay, so maybe it's just on our end. Maybe it's our studio end. That's fine. That's fine if it is. I just want to make sure it's not. Virginia against Tennessee. That's going to be a good game. Tennessee's favored. Tennessee is favored in that game. Iowa against Florida. Florida's favored by 10.5. Arizona against Utah State. Somebody called Utah State. I think it was Monty. Monty may have called that the other night. Arizona's favored by 11.5. UConn is favored by 4.5 over UCLA. That game tomorrow night at 7:45 Eastern Time. And then Texas Tech and Alabama. That should be a good game. But I like Tech in that game. So, again, I feel that you've got a really good slate of games tomorrow, but scheduling-wise, I'm just going to put this out there. Yes, they did a smart thing by putting the game on CBS. It should be the last game of the night on CBS, and that's Kansas St. John's. That's what people want to watch. They want to watch Pitino versus Self. No offense to anybody else on, TBS or TNT, True TV. That's the last game of the night on CBS. I get that, but that game should be highlighted. I mean, that's the one to watch. Vandy is down by 2 with 9:23 to go. They're keeping it close. Let's be honest here, guys. They're keeping it close, and I like it. I like where things are at. High points. This is what we want in March. We want really good games. We want guys that are playing really, really hard. We want teams that are really, really good, and we're getting that. We're not getting a lucky team here and there, so on and so forth. Now, if High Point somehow beats Arkansas, then we may have to talk about that. But I really, really, really think that you've got a really good bracket setting up here for the Sweet 16. I'm really looking forward to that on Thursday. I can't wait for it. I tell you guys all the time, I'm ready for March, and look, when the tournament starts, it goes too quick. It just goes by way too quick. And I have been known to, Vandy fought for the rebound and got it. 3-ball, no. Rebound by Nebraska. Tie game at 55. I have been known to have my phone at my desk in our office when we have to work in our office. I've been known to have a game on or two, and I can tell you on Thursday I'm going to do that, and or Friday. So, plus it's opening day this week. It's opening day for Major League Baseball. So, and it's going to be freezing cold here in Northern Illinois. Today it was wonderful. We had 75, 77 degrees at one point. It was great. Just wonderful. Vandy takes a 3-point lead. Their first lead of the night. Timeout on the floor. Ooh, boy, if Vandy wins. If Vandy wins. Oh, my. I would call that an upset. I'm just going to be honest with you. And then you would have an SEC matchup. Or you could have an SEC matchup with Vandy and Florida. So we'll have to see. All right, let's take a quick timeout. We're going to hear from our friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling. And then from there, we are going to continue our March Madness conversation right here on the Last Row Podcast. It's March. Brackets are everywhere, and they are busted. There are upsets, Cinderella runs. Everybody thinks they've got the perfect lineup. But let me ask you something. If your house had a bracket, would your kitchen even make it past the first round? Like UNC. Is your bathroom a 16 seed hanging by a thread? Listen, championships aren't built on hope. They're built on strong foundations. And when it's time to upgrade your starting five, new cabinets, new tile, finished basement, you don't draw the play up yourself. You call in the expert, the coach. You call in I Know a Guy Remodeling. No busted brackets, no blown leads, UNC. Just clutch performance when it matters the most. This spring, build a contender. Because in this house, we don't rebuild to compete. We rebuild to win. You can check out a link to their Facebook page on our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. Because everybody deserves to know a guy. And now, you do. I Know a Guy Remodeling. All right, welcome back. Let's continue our conversation here about March Madness and other sports headlines that are making waves right now. We know Alabama is going to be without one of their best players for the remainder of the tournament, more than likely. And I will just tell you that the story that is coming out of that is not good for Alabama. It is not a good sight for them. It is a big issue. And there was more drug found in the car than what was reported. It was over 2 pounds. And apparently there were messages on his phone about different transactions that could happen. So it's just not a good look for Alabama. Just not a good look at all. And it's really a bad look. We're just going to call it that, a bad look. And again, without question, look, it has to be there has to be accountability there. And if there's not, and that goes back to the conversation we were having earlier with the old school coaches, right? With Tom Izzo, with Calipari. You've got guys that hold their players accountable. Now, yes, have there been issues in years past and or this year? Like, for example, with Jeremy Fears at Michigan State, where, let's be honest, he's got the reputation as being a dirty-ish player. Not dirty-ish, he's a dirty player. But, realistically here, it's a big deal. And I have to say it that there has to be a higher standard being held at especially bigger schools like from the Power Four. Let's be honest here. the SEC, the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC. There's got to be bigger or higher standards that are held. I'll tell you something right here now. If you folks aren't watching the Vandy-Nebraska game on TNT, you need to. You absolutely need to. It is very quickly becoming a very good game. This is fantastic. This is fantastic so far. Vandy and Nebraska are playing just a barn burner. 3-ball corner pocket. Got it. They're answering threes back and forth. This is fantastic basketball. High level. You got Big Ten versus SEC right now, and it's such high-level games. Such a high-level game. No doubt about it. One thing that I wanted to bring up here, and that is, I know I've been rough on Brad Underwood. And I know Brad Underwood has been really highly criticized by Illinois fans. But when you look at what he's done over the last time here, two Sweet 16s now in 3 years. He's getting to a consistent level now of not being an easy out in the first 2 rounds of the tournament. He's able to recruit outside of Chicago. He doesn't have many recruits inside of the city. And I think that is absolutely fascinating. I think it's something to look at this here. And they're going for the first time, back-to-back times, to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2005. Illinois is going to the Sweet 16 for only the second time since 2005. That's a big deal. That's a very big deal. And look, that team in 2005 is still held in super high regard. In super high regard. And, you know, I'll give Underwood his flowers right now. But if they get to the Final Four with this team, that's when I'll give him his deserved flowers. If they get bounced in the Sweet 16, I'm not sold yet. I'm still not sold. Yes, he's done a great job so far, but you know what? Get past here, the Sweet 16, and get to the Elite 8. And okay, now we're talking. Now you've got something to really build on. Now your recruiting goes up. Now you have an opportunity to really solidify your program as being a top one in the nation. High Point had a shot for a 3. They missed it. It's early in the second half. Arkansas leads 45-42. Now, I will say this much too. I am very impressed by John Calipari. Still impressed by Tom Izzo. Some of these young coaches, I am finding out very quickly are a really, really good fit for their schools. I really like Dan Hurley at UConn. I think that's a match made in heaven. I really like Pitino at St. John's. I would love Pitino at Illinois. I think that would be a brilliant hire for the Illini. If Underwood were to decide to leave and go to North Carolina or something, I think that's great. The Mark Pope thing at Kentucky, I think, ends after tomorrow. I don't think Pope is around after tomorrow. I feel that, Rick Barnes at Tennessee is a nice hire. I think that's a really good fit. But some of these younger coaches that are always looking for their next pay date, if you will, I want to see them stay like an Izzo has because of the fact that gets credibility. That lends itself to being a program setter. Look, John Shire at Duke, I think is absolutely one of those guys. As long as he doesn't get tempted by the NBA and the Chicago Bulls, which I'm hoping they don't do. But I'm really impressed by him. I will say this much, though, about Duke. I think this is a very beatable Duke team. I think if you're able to shut down the Boozer Boys, I don't know what else they have on Duke or at Duke. I'm not a fan. So I'm just wondering what that might entail. I'm wondering what might happen then with Duke. But again, I find it very interesting that we've got a nice mixture of older and younger coaches in the tournament right now. I mean, you think about the coaches that are left. You've got John Shire, you've got Izzo, you've got Underwood, you've got Sampson, you've got Rick Barnes in there. You've got Calipari in there. Hoiberg is in it right now. So, I really like where college basketball is at. I hope that college basketball continues to spread the NIL options, or continues to spread the NIL money realistically out there, because of the fact that I think it helps make, and Tom Izzo alluded to that earlier on here tonight, that makes things easier without question. It makes things easier for players. It makes things easier for college basketball's landscape to stay even, if you will, or, for lack of a better term, grounded, if you will. Because then at that point in time, you've got money being spread out to all the schools, all of the different conferences, and you get a better mix, or not a mix, you get a better distribution, we'll call it, of good players to other schools. And I feel that college football could learn from this. College football needs to learn from this because of the fact you've got so many different guys that are absolutely in college basketball starters for many of these teams that would be starters on any big name school, especially with the mid-major guys like High Point. I'm not going to call anybody else really the mid-major, if you will, but again, I feel that realistically, High Point is one of those schools that, look, they can hang, and it's because they've got really good, talented players. They've got really good, talented players. And it feels to me like they have the best opportunity, the mid-majors, to impact the biggest ways in March. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's great for college basketball. I love that. I wish that the NCAA football program would look at that the same way. Because, again, if you can spread the NIL evenly to all of the schools, somehow or another, a salary, if you will, I'm telling you right now, I think you get more, you get even keeled or even distribution. You're going to have better football. You're going to have better football games and football teams, for that matter. I look at like what NIU did a year ago to Notre Dame, or 2 years ago now to Notre Dame, when they went into South Bend and they beat them. NIU is a mid-major school. Let's be honest here. Yes, they play in the MAC, but it's a mid-major school. And I think that overall, when they went into South Bend and beat Notre Dame, it was a wake-up call to college football. And I think now you have to have just as big of a wake-up call to college football with how the NCAA is run. And I know the NCAA loves chaos. I get that. I understand it. I respect it. But I say this much. The NIL distribution absolutely should be, the NCAA men's football programs should absolutely do this with the NIL money. They need to spread it out. They need to distribute it evenly, because then you get better games. And I really think it's just an absolutely fantastic way of doing things. That's why March Madness is so popular. That's why March Madness is just absolutely crazy. And everybody's here for it. Everybody loves it. And everybody wants it. And I feel that with the NCAA and how they're doing this, to me, it feels like the NCAA is a really good example of how NIL money is being used the right way. It's absolutely being used the right way. It's being distributed correctly. It's being utilized correctly. And I love how the tournament is shaping up right now. I love how the Sweet 16 is absolutely getting to be must-see TV. Even the round of 64 is getting to be must-see TV now, because you have such good games that first day. I mean, we look back on Thursday already. It seems like forever ago, and we had major upsets. It was major upsets that we had, and it was great, and it was chaotic, and it was wonderful, and that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. And I'm absolutely all for it. I'm absolutely here for it. I love it. I want it to continue, and I want it to be a absolutely great rest of the tournament. And I feel as if we're going to get a really good Elite Eight matchups. I just do. I think whether Illinois is in it or not, I don't care. I think it's going to be just incredibly balanced. I think you're not going to see really any mismatches. I've really been surprised here at the round of 32. You've had the haves and the have-nots. There really haven't been many have-nots. Let's just be honest here. There haven't been many blowouts. There haven't been many, oh my gosh moments where you have, where you have, teams that are just not good getting blown away. That's just not happening. Now, in the Illinois game against VCU, VCU lost one of their best players. But other players could step up, could do things. Illinois' defense was really, really good tonight. Illinois' defense was really good. And to me, it's just a simple fact of the matter. Now you're going to have High Point and Arkansas are all tied up at 52 with 15:30 to play. Again, what we've talked about here, all tournaments so far, you've got really balanced matchups, and I love it. I think it works out really well. And I'm here for it. I think it's great. And I tell you what, High Point is not backing down. High Point is not scared. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I think this is fantastic. And I know I keep using that, but I feel that this is a really good basketball team. I mean, they were the number one in the Big South Conference, and look, they are doing everything that they should, and they're showing out. I mean, they are absolutely showing out, and they're in High Point, North Carolina. I did not realize that. So I mean, look, they're going up against UNC, they're going up against South Carolina, they're going up against all the big schools in the ACC recruiting with Duke and things like that. And look, they're holding their own right now. They are absolutely holding their own right now with an SEC team, and they've got the lead now. So this is absolutely a great job. And look, credit to their head coach, Coach Kleiman. He is absolutely doing a phenomenal job. He is a young head coach who was at Colorado State. Now he played at Colorado State, played at Troy. He's coached at Southern Utah, And then for the last 2 years, he was an associate head coach. Now he's the head guy. They're 33-5. They are 33-5 overall this season. They're not afraid of big moments. And I think you're seeing that. I think you're absolutely seeing that throughout this tournament. Now, you saw Miami of Ohio get beat real bad yesterday, but you know what? They deserve to be there, and even the coaching staffs have said that. The coaching staffs have said it, that Miami of Ohio, they won 31 games. They deserve to be in the tournament. And there was a lot of conversation about how the seeding process went and how many people thought Miami of Ohio should have been seeded better. And I agree. Anytime you have a team that runs the table in the regular season, there's no reason why they should have been as low as they were in terms of a seed as an 11. But that's what the committee felt because they only had quality wins, against one team. Well, you know what? Give me them every day of the week because they're going to play their butts off. They're going to do everything right, and I'm really excited for the future of how things are moving in college basketball. I really, really am. I didn't think, truth be told, I didn't think I would be into March Madness as much as I am this year. And the way things are balanced, the way things are organized and run, I'm here for it. It's fantastic. And the view from the last row is perfect. I mean, this is how it should be every single year, where you've got really good teams and you've got some underdog teams, and the underdog teams really shouldn't be underdog teams. And it's been a great tournament so far. I'm very happy. And look, I know brackets have been busted. I understand that. I know that there have been issues left and right with people saying, oh, the officiating and blah, 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 blah. Guess what? The officiating hasn't been good no matter what. You can complain about it as much as we want. You can say, that things are, the officiating needs to get better. Coaches need to coach better. And you're right, coaches do need to coach better. That's why I think what Charles Barkley said earlier tonight about the old school coaches like Tom Izzo, like John Calipari, Rick Pitino, even Rick Barnes, who's really not much of a yeller. I really feel like those guys are kind of a last of a dying breed. And it's unfortunate because the coaching matters. Coaching absolutely matters. All right, we're looking here at Vanderbilt and Nebraska. Down to 1:05. They are tied up at 70 apiece. This game has gone back and forth, and I am loving Vanderbilt right now. The Commodores are not giving in. An SEC team is not giving in here to the Big Ten. And Nebraska is a very well-coached team. Don't get me wrong. I think Nebraska's doing a great job with Fred Hoiberg. I think that they are they're a good, young, scrappy team. They crash the boards. They do all the things right. And Fred Hoiberg's offense that he ran at Iowa State when he was there prior to being hired by the Bulls in the NBA, it's working in the Big Ten. So we know the offense works in college, mind you. It works great in college. Not in the NBA, but in college. We're knotted up at 72. There's 19 seconds to go. Vandy's a little bit out of control. Don't know what they want to do here. There's 3 seconds left, 2 seconds left on the shot clock. Rebound to Nebraska. Nebraska has a chance to win the game here in regulation. Driving down, nobody in the middle of the lane, and it's up and in with 2.2 seconds remaining. Timeout on the floor. Timeout on the floor. Nebraska up by 2. What a game. What a game. Vanderbilt called a timeout. No time left, no time ran off the clock. And Vanderbilt called a timeout. What a great game. What a great game. And I'll tell you what, the other game right now that's happening, Arkansas and High Point, it's back and forth. It is absolutely, it's back and forth. And I love it. It's great. All right, that's going to put a bow on this edition of the Last Row Podcast. We're going to be back with you tomorrow night as we recap the round of 32 and we get you set for the Sweet 16. We're also going to get you set for the opening day for Major League Baseball. We're going to start talking about that. That's coming up here later this week, and we are set for it. And until next time, I'll see you in the last row.